Good evening and welcome to our fifth webinar in our monthly webinar series for parents. My name is Kathy Thompson and I'm the founder of Beyond the Classroom. Since 1998, Beyond the Classroom has been a pioneer in the field of in-home tutoring, setting our standards high and helping students achieve great success with our certified teachers. We continue to set ourselves apart from other tutoring organizations because the student is at the center of our business model. We provide not only one-on-one academic support through tutoring, but we focus on the whole child and those aspects of their lives that affect learning. This is the reason we're hosting monthly webinars. This evening, we'll find out ways that you can incorporate fitness into homework time. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce tonight's expert, Binu Dinsa. As a teenager, Binu was always active. Playing sports as a kid led to becoming a fitness instructor and personal trainer. She learned how food and exercise together with mindfulness was the secret behind lasting physical health. Entering the 40s brought energy, metabolism, and digestive changes that affected her lifestyle and body. Working with a holistic nutritionist, a life coach, and a transformational fitness coach taught her how to stay nourished, keep illnesses away, and feel her best. Her last few years have focused on nutrition, digestion, hormone balance, and exercises designed for women and men over 40, as well as the impact of stress on our bodies. She's gone on to study stress response and relaxation response at the Whole Health Medical Institute, as her passion to help women and men has led to connect stress with many aspects of life, including how we feed ourselves. Binu has become a whole health ambassador, now teaching how our physical body is truly connected to many other areas of health in our lives, such as mental health, our spiritual health, our relationships, and our work life. Binu now teaches many people about mindfulness, how true awareness in all aspects of health can improve our current health state, one day at a time. As a busy mom of 3 children who all participate in physical activities, baseball, basketball, and dance, she understands the challenges of keeping everyone in the family healthy. She engages with her kids often to share her knowledge around energizing daily with exercise, proper nutrition, and daily mindfulness habits in a balanced way to give the body what it needs to thrive so that she and her family can play full out. I would just welcome Binu, and I'm going to turn it over to you now to discuss 3 important reasons why we should combine fitness with homework.
Thank you, Kathy, for that great introduction. Um, so I'm Binu, and I know some of you, but not all of you. So some of you know where I've come from, and those that don't, I'm going to just keep talking based on what Kathy said. Um, my bio makes it sound so perfect, but it's not. And I think all of us that have children can say that we try our best. We try to teach them what we know and and then we just try to keep going. So I'm here to talk to you about combining fitness with homework. Before I really get into combining them, I want to just go over some of the things that we already know. Like, why is exercise good for our bodies? We know it's good for our lungs and our heart, makes them stronger for increased energy and endurance. It's good for our muscles. That exercise strengthens and stretches our muscles. It's good for those functional activities like putting out the garbage or for the kids, mastering that backward somersault. It's good for our bones, right? Builds strong bones, helps you stand taller, sit straighter, helps with our reflexes and coordination, and just overall staying healthy, maintaining a healthy weight, and keeping us strong and healthy as we grow and as we age. So that's really like, for what exercise does for our body. And then we also, where it comes into learning and the mindfulness piece with me, is how exercise can help your mind. And we all know this too, that exercise gets your blood flowing. Any of us that, have done anything like rock climbed or gone for a run or go for a bike ride, you know that your blood gets flowing and then you've got oxygen going to your brain, and that means you can think better. It helps you from zoning out, whether at work or for the kids in class while doing their homework. and I'm going to talk about some research about improving your test scores. But the things that we do know, and if we keep this in our mind for our kids, that it puts us in a better mood, so it's going to put them in a better mood. It gives all of us more energy. It helps us to calm down and then hence to sleep better. And all that results in more attention and better test scores. Um, I've done some reading over the years, and it's interesting when Kathy came to me asking me to do this presentation. It really clicked with me because someone gave me a book a few years ago called Spark, and it was all about exercise and the brain. And it was right up my alley because I was so passionate about how exercise actually can affect so many other things than just our physical body. So I'm just going to talk about some research. There's a study done in Georgia Health Sciences University where they took 11 to 17-year-olds and they had them commit to about 20 to 40 minutes of vigorous play every day, such as jump rope, running games, or hula hooping. And it was done every day after school for 3 months. And they measured their MRI scans, and the results at the end of the test period show an enhancement in their brain activity. And so there's lots of things that they actually tested, but just that feeling that there was only a positive effect that physical activity had on the brain. And then we can take it into the classroom now, right? Like there's classroom, then there's homework time, but all around, I've read these studies before. There was a study that I read years ago, was done in Aurora, and it was a teacher that took two groups of kids, and one of them at 9 o'clock when they showed up for school would do a lap around the school or a couple laps, I forget what it was, and the other group did not. And then they kept track of their test scores, and they accommodated for different factors, age and gender. And of course, you know where I'm going, that the group that exercised every morning had better test scores. And so the why behind this is, and these are the list of things that you can come across everywhere, is that exercise increases that flow of blood to the brain. It builds new brain cells, which is linked with memory and memory loss. Exercise improves your child's ability to learn, all of our abilities to learn. And there was actually another study that I had noted down here. It was in 2007, and there was these German researchers that found that after exercise, people learned vocabulary words 20% faster than they did before they exercised. And then the other part of it, which I like, is exercise helps creativity. And I know I've done this where, I've gone for a workout and sometimes you're not even really mindful about it. And then you come back and, you work on something. And it's interesting that I just feel like I'm so much more efficient. I'm able just to focus and suddenly the creative juices start flowing. So if you really think what happens to you and pay attention to what happens to you when you exercise, the same is going to be happening with our children. And then the piece about stress showed up because I am passionate about stress with adults, but I also see it in my kids. And the more I study stress and exercise and eating well and whole health altogether, I start seeing it in my children as well. And so to read that exercise reduces stress by placing the brain into a homeostatic state, balancing the body's chemistry and organ systems and all that really makes me feel good about the whole world of exercise. So that's just a bit of a background, and I'm just going to flip a slide here. So now let's really talk about the exercise learning connection, right? I mean, we know this, that exercise increases attention, but it's some of these things that I came across that I wanted to share with you and then share some of my own stories. So just what it says on the slide, exercise releases specific neurons in the brain that increase focus and prime the brain for learning. And that's very interesting that if you really think about watching your own children, and I had this actually happen last night, and of course, knowing that this webinar was happening, these things were showing up in my life. And so my son plays baseball, and it was interesting because it's the end of the year here, and we're concerned about how much homework he has. And as we were driving home, I was just saying to him, do you have any homework, bud? And he just says, yep, I'm gonna come in. I'm going to eat something, and then I'm going to get right to my homework. And so it's interesting because he's not the kid that usually wants to do that, but it's something we've been working on over time. He used to procrastinate a lot, and but I did notice that when we've done homework like before a baseball game versus after, I just noticed yesterday that he came right home and he was able to focus, right? So this was what here I'm researching and learning more about to share with you all. And I saw it with my own eyes. And even my daughter had the TV on and he was still able to shut it out and focus on what he was doing. So increased attention, really important. So moving your body before starting homework. I came across some interesting things when I went researching. And this came up a lot that when kids go straight to homework, they lose attention after 20 minutes. And there was a lot of, and I'm sure Kathy has lots to share on this and knows a lot more than I do. And I kept reading that, when kids come home, give them a little break. And then they were saying, get them to do a little breathing exercise, 20 minutes of exercise, and then get them to do 20 minutes of homework, and they'll be attentive and focused. And so it was this whole theme about move your body before starting homework. Um, and I was just reading my notes here. And, one of the things I always think is that there's so many great things that happen to your body when you exercise, work out, the increased blood flow, the endorphins. So that's what I was thinking is these feel good endorphins. What it does to you, like we all know, we've exercised, we know what it feels like. And this is what's happening to the kids as well. So they're able to focus more. They feel more confident. They have higher self-esteem, and then it's actually something that they look forward to as well, right? So this was the whole theme about adding physical activity to the nightly homework routine. And there was a woman that I came across, and she'd written a blog about how it made a huge difference for her daughter. And she ended up signing up for this program called Bootorial. So it's like boot camp and tutorial. And it's a group of women that ran this program, and they had kids do 20 minutes of exercise, and then 20 minutes of math, the cycle 2 more times. So then 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of tutoring, and again. And they just saw how it really increased the focus and attention, and the kids were really efficient in getting their homework done, less complaining, um, and just a better experience, for parents and children all around. So now it's, so I wanted to kind of give my tips. Um, and do I do all these myself? I try, and I want to repeat that is just that, we try our best as parents, and I've kind of learned this over the years that um, that's all I can do. I can't be after perfection because every day with 3 kids, it's not perfect. There's some days it's so wonderful, and then there's other days that I'm pulling my hair out. Um, so a couple things that I've done, adding physical activity to the nightly homework routine. And I read this too, and it made me feel better because my kids are in competitive sports, but it's not every night. So some nights they're free, and some nights they have an activity. And the nights they have activity, we do the activity, we come home, and then we do homework. We've tried different ways, and I feel good now after doing all my research because I feel good that they, come and do their homework after. And it seems to work. And now I'm just seeing that their attention is probably a bit heightened. Um, and I also feel like, it can be anything. It doesn't mean that your kids have to do a sport outside of the home. There's so many things you can do. And I have a few things listed on the slide there. A walk, take your child for a walk with the dog. And sometimes what I've done with my kids is we start walking and then we do a little sprint. And this is because, for me, walking is good, but to really get the heart rate up, you need to add some intervals where you're sprinting and then walking. And so it's something that the kids love to do too, especially the boys, right? They love to race. So if you've got a dog, they want to see if the dog and mom can go faster than they can. Playing tag, right? In the winter, I admit we've done this at home. It's hard, but we do. Yoga and stretching. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Happy Homework Time article that Kathy has in the link there. There are a few yoga stretches shown in a picture form. And then the body weight workout, there's so many things you can do. I create things for my clients, but I found a YouTube video that is linked in there too called YouTube Video for Kids Exercise. And it's a leader actually with kids doing a workout, and I'm going to go through that as well. Oh, so actually I did put them on the picture. So the reason I put this yoga picture up here, so this is in that article, and she actually has a whole bunch of different yoga poses that you can do with your kids. The biggest part for me when I read this article was about getting involved with them. One thing is to get them to exercise, to get the blood flowing and get those neurons going, but how to do that. And I've learned this, since my kids were small. If I sit there on the sofa and I say, oh, sorry, Kathy's saying she'll give the links at the end of the webinar. So those will be there for you. When I would just sit there and say, to my son, okay, let's do some yoga stretches, show me your downward dog, or, he would just say, yeah, whatever, mom. But if I actually got down on the floor and said, okay, here, I'm going to do 10 push-ups, how about you? Whether there's a competitive factor or whether there's just a connection factor. And I see that with my kids per se, and what I was reading the last little while is the more we actually be the role model for them, then there's more connection between us, and they're more likely to get to do it and want to do it. And this is what I read over and over again, is that once they start doing it, it's like any other habit, they will look forward to it. They will ask for it. And that's the beauty of it. Their bodies are going to ask for it because they know how good it makes them feel. So go check out that article that Kathy's going to post at the end, and has some great yoga stretches that you can do with some of the younger kids, and then I have some other info for the older kids. And you can really do these videos that I found on YouTube. There was a woman that runs this Fit and Funky YouTube site, which some of the stuff is appropriate. Some stuff you might want to look at yourself before letting your kids look at it. I didn't look through all of her things, but this one video was really great. And I changed the numbers a bit. So she has this fun countdown workout, which to me, I used to teach only adults, and I would get them to do these things. And then when I would teach the kids, I would think that it was too hard for them. But actually, kids are actually, very interested in doing what their parents can do. And so the jumping jacks, the squats, vertical jumps, just jumping up and down, sit-ups and push-ups, they learn it in gym class. And it's something everybody can do together. And part of this workout, why I like it, is it uses different muscle groups. You're getting your heart rate up, you're using your leg muscles, you're using your abdomen, and you're also using, your upper body in the push-ups. And it's something that, you can make it fun. And again, you can be that role model for your kids. So there's so many things you can do, or you can get out for a bike ride, right? It's easy enough just to get out on a bike, go for a walk, do a run at the park, climb some of the structures at the park with your kids. They love that. So those are just a few examples that I came up with to help you with things to think about. And the other thing I did before I go into this last slide is a few years ago I ran a skipping challenge. And it was very interesting because it was meant for my clients, so the adults, but what ended up happening is people said, oh, my kids want to do the skipping challenge. And then even my son, I think he's 11 now. I believe he was, I'm just thinking now, maybe 6 or 7, and he couldn't skip. and he had this big lack of like confidence. And I just see this all going into, even, that type of learning something new to get that confidence up, that exercise can do that for you. But the skipping challenge was ended up being a big thing. We put a list up on the fridge, everybody's name, and we had a prize at the end. So that's just another idea of something you can do with the older kids, the younger kids, with husbands and wives all together. And so at the end of the day, my last slide is, this is one of my mottos: constant daily action. Your kids will get used to what to expect if you incorporate the activity before homework each day. And it's the daily habit. And, I was saying this to Kathy, that it is something that when I teach adults, I'm trying to teach them what I've had work in my life, which is, if I do this every day and then my kids see me doing it every day, they're inspired, and then they see that, I'm able to run around with them, I'm able to lift things without hurting my back, and that they are going to want to do it because it's going to help them in some way. And the more, even this week, talking about this webinar and talking to them about, let's make sure we get our exercise the days that we don't have anything scheduled, just to make sure that we're extra focused and we're, getting our blood flowing and all that kind of stuff, really seems to make a difference in the lives of, in my house and in everybody else's that I see around me. And so last, just to finish this off, is some of the examples is be the example to your kids of being active, walking, running, biking, playing sports. Make fitness a priority in your home. Talk to them about, limiting TV and playing video games, and getting outside, especially with the weather so great right now. Making it fun. I find when it's not fun, yeah, they don't want to do it. And it's interesting what can be fun. Wrestling sometimes actually is kind of fun for my son, which is hard for me as a woman, but I do it, try it. Ladders. I've bought these little ladders from the fitness store, and the kids love trying all these new things to test their coordination. Um, Encourage your kids to walk. And I kept reading about walking, and it is something that we want to be doing now at our age. Like, how many people are managing their 10,000 steps? We have to teach our kids just to walk, right? Those muscles need to be enhanced and kept going, right, throughout our life. Teach them to use wheels, all kinds of wheels, right? Scooters, rollerblades, and make sure you have helmets and all that. Encourage them to dance. And this is interesting because my son laughs at me when I say this. I met a gentleman at a retreat I went to a couple years ago, and he'd had both his hips replaced. And amazing, long story short, he used dancing and danced into his hips every morning just to get them moving. And that really helped him. And now he incorporates dance. He wakes up, puts his favorite song on, and moves his body every morning. And so that's the little thing you can do. And I do that, and my kids laugh at me. But sometimes when everyone's like in a like really overtired mood in the morning, I'll put on a song and I'll just act crazy, and they'll look at me, and I'll just say, like, join me because I'm smiling and it's fun. And, 2 out of 3 of them will. One of them will roll their eyes at me. But if I keep doing it, I'm hoping that, the third older teenager will catch on and join me. And regular outings, take a hike, outdoors, all that kind of stuff. Um, and I read this, that there's no evidence that it's detrimental, which, of course, right, everything we read about exercise and research is going to be positive. And, at the end of the day, this whole connection between exercise and learning is really great. And it's just whether we, as the role models, start tomorrow, start instilling one little thing, running to the bus stop, anything. When they get home, try 5 minutes and then try to do their homework and see if you notice a difference. And then at the end, I wanted to wrap this up with something that showed up in my Facebook page today, and it was about hugging. And the reason I bring this up because they were talking about, it was a blog of a friend of mine, and you figure that, you do homework with your kids and then you give them a hug before they go to bed, or you give them a hug after, or, hugging is just one of those things. As my kids have aged, we start doing less. And then I read this and it made me hug them all. And it was connecting the same thing, that frequent hugging also results in improved performance at work and at school. It calms the nervous system, alleviating stress by reducing the levels of cortisol, the stress hormones in the blood. And that to me thought, that's similar. It's just another thing we can do to get the blood flowing, to reduce our stress hormones so we can focus and feel calm, and kids get their homework done and adults get their work done. So with that, I'm going to end this and see if there's any questions. But I thank you for listening to me and giving me the time to share my passion. Lynette, you're asking what was the name of the book? Um, the book, the Exercise in the Brain book. It's called Spark, like SPARK. Maybe I can later get a picture. I don't know how I can do that. I can take a picture of it. You're welcome, Lynette. Thanks, Kathy. So that's my last slide, just to know where you can find me. My website is mostly about adults. I don't advertise a lot that I do with kids, but I have done some different things with kids. It's just not the main focus of my business. It's usually parents that I work with ask me to train their kids, do some activity with their kids. Um, and teach them some, workouts. I've mostly worked with older kids. I've done some young baseball groups like the 10-year-olds and ran little obstacle courses. Lots of fun things you can do with kids. So thank you very much. That's where you can find me. I'm also on Facebook, Binu Dinsa, and I'm connected to Kathy. And so we have another question, I think. Nancy's typing a question. So Kathy, those links are up. I pretty sure I can see them, so I'm assuming everybody else can. So Nancy's asking, would you suggest more frequent breaks for kids with ADHD? I am going to say I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in ADHD. What I was reading was really similar on the sites that were talking about ADHD, that the exercise is really so helpful to do before they actually get down to their homework. But I would pass that on to Kathy for sure. You're welcome, Nancy.
Great. Thank you so much, Binu, for a terrific webinar. The time always goes so quickly. And thank you all for attending this evening. I learned a lot. And just as a reminder to really just get moving, I love the story about the gentleman who put on his favorite music and danced in the morning. I thought that was really cool. And that's something easy we can do with our family. So thank you again. And the link for the recording will be made available on our website within 7 days. As well, it will be distributed by email to those who registered. So please join us next month when we talk about learning and music and the impact we can make with our children by integrating a love of music into learning. So with that, I will say good night and have a wonderful evening.